Welcome back to Kumite Lifestyle. A few years ago at Gracie University, I met someone whose story instantly stood out, Malek Batterjee. He's the founder of the only certified Gracie Jiu-Jitsu training center in the entire Middle East, located in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. In this episode, we dive into his incredible journey from growing up in Saudi Arabia to training in the UK and the US, and how martial arts became his bridge between cultures. Malek shares how Gracie Jiu-Jitsu not only changed his life, but helped him build a community rooted in connection, respect, and real-world self-defense. You'll hear about his daily life, teaching high-profile clients, running a high school, through the challenges of COVID and the lessons he's learned traveling across 3 continents. This one gets beyond martial arts. It's about purpose, balance, and what it means to bring people together through jiu-jitsu. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Kumite Lifestyle. I'll let you, take it away. Where are you right now in the world?
Awesome. How you doing, guys? Thank you for having me on, Nick. I'm all the way from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, so Middle East. The only certified training center in the region. So it's good to be here.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And you said a couple of things I definitely want to talk about. So for those watching and listening, Saudi Arabia is not in the United States. It's on the other
So
side of the world, just so there's no confusion. And one of the
yeah,
reasons why I wanted to bring on different guests from all walks of life, not just from here in the States or just people that I know here locally or, kind of afar, but I really wanted to connect and give opportunities for folks like yourself a platform to kind of just share your
mm,
story. And I'm super
love it.
excited to have you on. And when we started connecting, I was like, man, like how cool would it be if I could bring on folks from, all parts of the world where it just kind of brings people together, That's kind of been my mission for this whole platform. So, man, that's awesome. So, just so everyone knows, I met Malik officially through Gracie University. So, if you guys don't know, Gracie
Hmm.
University is a huge association or affiliation, if you will, that's based out of Torrance, California, here in the United States. And Malik, like he said, he runs a certified training center, which is a CTC, which I definitely want to talk about. But before we do, man, what is life like over in Saudi Arabia? Because I know you've traveled and I know Saudi Arabia is your home.
Yeah.
So give us like a day in a life for you over there, man, because like even myself, I mean, I'm not that educated over
Okay.
um
It's pretty normal. It's the same everywhere in the world. We have jobs, you go to work, I do my thing, I teach jiu-jitsu. I'm basically running around all day just teaching jiu-jitsu, which is good. I like being busy.
yeah,
And luckily, the it took a while for me to kind of like integrate jiu-jitsu into the community.
sure.
Uh, because it wasn't very well known, or it was here, but it was just the if I would describe it, it's like what jujitsu was in the U.S. back in like the early 2000s.
Mm,
So like it existed, but it's still very niche.
yeah.
And that's what life is like right here. I would say the only thing that's different is really hot, like really, really hot. We're talking about like 40 degrees Celsius. Like average, like a day is 30 degrees Celsius, which is like, I want to say like 120, 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So that's crazy hot. And where I live in Jeddah, it's next to the Red Sea. So it's
Yeah.
like crazy, crazy humid. Like I would describe it like think Miami humidity with like, let's say, I don't even know. I don't think you guys have that heat, like Texas heat, like
Yeah.
Texas heat
Yeah.
with like Dallas, like Houston heat with Miami humidity, all like wrapped into one.
Man,
That's basically what I live on
yeah.
a day to day, which is nice. I like the heat. I've lived in cold places like most of my life, like half of my life I've lived in cold places. I used to live in DC, which is pretty cold in the winter, East Coast, not a fun place to be. I lived in the UK, like in Manchester in the UK, which is very like wet and cloudy and gray and cold. So I'm not a fan. I don't know what it's like. I know Delaware gets cold in the winter.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, so
Oh yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. Like cold for us right now is um, like 20, like 90 degrees, like 85. That's like cold.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's different, really. Everything else is pretty much the same. People go to work. People have families. People do their thing. Um, I would say there's one thing that sets us apart from like the U.S. is basically people don't walk here. We drive everywhere. We'll drive to the park. We'll drive to the desert to hang out, like do a little barbecue or camping. We'll drive to the beach. Um, it's very much like Los Angeles. Nobody walks
Mm.
until you're like in an area where there's walking, but
Yeah,
like you drive from spot to spot.
yeah,
It's just that's how the infrastructure is. Um, they're trying to change it now, but like good luck with that. Like try to walking out in that heat. It's crazy. It's not.
yeah.
It's not fun. Yeah, it's not fun. Nobody wants to do it. Like they'll
Man, you
either take the bus or they'll drive.
Yeah. Man, you said something that was pretty cool. So two things I just took from all that. You said that life is just like it is over here. And I think for anyone watching, because, when you're kind of, I don't want to say stuck, but when you're living in a certain part of the world, you kind of have your own
Mm,
perceptions and your own persona on how other people live.
yeah.
Greatly because of the media, right? So you watch movies,
Yeah.
media, and it kind of portrays it. And then you also said, and I love that you shared that you've lived over here. So you kind of have the
Mm-hmm.
best of both worlds. So take
Mm,
us through that. So I know you're living in Saudi Arabia now. So before we kind of jump into the jiu-jitsu side, how much
mm.
traveling have you done ultimately in your life, and
Um.
how has that helped impacted where you are today?
Honestly, the traveling is very important. Just to be able to see. What I really took away, and if I can like share this with the world, is
Yeah,
we're all human and we all really want the same things: shelter, food, family, happiness. And I've been all over. I've been traveling since I was 15. I'm 32 now. I went to school abroad. Like I said, since I was 15, I've lived in three different continents. Um, so for through 11 years. And basically, people are the same everywhere. They just speak different and they look different, but basically, everybody wants the same thing. They want to be
yeah,
happy. They want shelter. They want food. They want clean water, and they don't like getting sick. That's pretty. That's pretty much the universal truth that I found. People talk about, we're different this way, we're different that way, and I'm like, sure, but at the core of it, it seems like we're all the same. So I'm happy that that's what I discovered through everything, and that thread has really helped me like kind of deal with a lot of different people and just made interacting with people much easier. And I
yeah,
feel like even within my own country, because obviously just like the U.S., there's different areas, different regions, and I'm in a metropolitan city, so my city is like a major port city, and it has been for a very long time because like religiously the holy sites of our country of like Islam are right next door to me. They're like 20 minutes away. So the people that do their pilgrimages and their religious stuff, they have to pass through here. So this city has always been super international for like thousands of years. So even me being in a metropolitan city, when I go hang out in a different metropolitan city, like if I go to the capital, Riyadh, people will be a little bit different. But if I treat them as if, hey, you want shelter, you want food, you want security, you want happiness, um, my interaction with them ends up being um, very different, and they're even if they're a little bit abrasive because you're like, oh, you're from a different city, you look different, you're whatever. Even when I traveled, that kind of fades away within a few minutes of talking to me because they're seeing that I'm coming them from a human perspective, not from a I'm from this place, you're from that place. The connection happens starts with you, and I feel like we see that on the mats a lot when we're training because people, bro, so many different walks of life on the mats, and nobody cares because what are we all there to do? Train, have fun, and just connect and enjoy ourselves. And because
yeah,
we have that common thread of jujitsu, everything else kind of fades away. So I've kind of took that martial arts because I've been doing martial arts my whole life, and I took that kind of thread that I've learned from martial arts because if we have a common like theme, we kind of just it kind of kills all all kind of not even bad blood, but kind of like the prejudice
Yeah.
that comes with that. And people always people like when I used to live in the U.S. You know, I understand. And people say, "Oh, the U.S. is very divided." Bro, everybody's divided everywhere around the world. It's normal. It's human. We don't like things that are different. It scares us, and most people live in fear because they're not able to defend themselves. They're not confident in their own physical abilities, and this is where the martial arts comes in. Because I'm not scared, because I get beat up daily. I'm just like, okay, cool. What's the worst that could happen? I got choked out yesterday, or I armbarred this dude. He armbarred me, and it's just fun and games. So just I take things with a light heart, and I feel like that translates. And as long as you like have that mentality, life is good. Now I'm not saying that's always the case. That bad things happen, but like the likelihood of that, if you're like situationally aware,
Yeah.
like and you're not in a bad area doing bad things with bad people, you're kind of good. I teach this in the kids classes because I have a lot of teenagers now, and I'm like, dude, there's no such thing as like random acts of violence. It's like you're in a bad area. It's one of the three. You're either in a bad area with bad people or doing bad things, or a combination of these three. If you can avoid these, you're solid. You're never gonna see a bad thing in your life.
Yeah.
And that's just life, and that's how I see it.
Yeah, man. And that's so true because there's a few things and man, thank you for sharing that. I love your approach on, just ultimately how you treat people, like how you want to be treated. And that kind of translates to even us being instructors, man, because I mean, so many people come in, to our academies, they want to learn self-defense, but ultimately they stay for the community and no one cares what you know until they know that you care. So I love that you have that mindset. And because of your life experiences traveling to different parts of the world, especially at age 15, like you said, you have a lot of life experiences that most people, bro, don't get to
Mm,
share. And because you have that, you can approach life almost kind of almost at a different lens. And I love how you
mm,
mentioned that no matter where you are in the world as humans, right? There's a common theme of these are the things that we want, because ultimately everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be seen and loved. And man, that's awesome that you've learned that at such a young, stage in your life, and you take that with you as an instructor. And man, I've been following your page and just your like journey probably now for the last couple years, especially when we met. And the thing
yeah.
that I got with you is, man, you're very confident, you're very well spoken, but that doesn't just come like it didn't just happen overnight. It's the experiences that you mentioned, man. That is so cool that you really got to help kind of shape the next generation, and you see the world from a
Mm,
different lens, man. And
mm,
honestly, I wish more people had your experience where they can kind of see things like, hey, this is a bad area. I mean, just because these people are bad doesn't mean that they're going to be bad towards me. So ultimately,
mm,
it's like how you treat them. Awesome. So let's
mm.
dive into your martial arts journey. So when did you first start training? Because like you, I'm also a lifelong martial artist. So I always love hearing the stories of when people started training. So I know you're 30 now. So when did you start training?
When I was 5,
Man,
so
that's
I started
awesome.
martial arts when I was 5. I
Bro, I
started
was
with
6 years
karate.
old. Yeah, so we're
So
the
I
same
started with
there.
karate. Yeah, we started with
Same,
karate.
same.
I and then I started doing judo at some point. But I only stuck with that for like 2 or 3 years. And then, funny story, I never really shared this with any of the CTC instructors, and I've wanted to tell the story to Kiro and Henner,
Yeah,
Gracie,
yeah,
because I think I'm the first person to ever learn Gracie Jiu-Jitsu through the internet,
yeah.
way back in 1999.
Hmm.
Um, I was in the fifth grade, I think, or sixth grade, so like maybe I was 9 or 10, and I was watching the Batman cartoon. It's called yeah, it was a movie called The Phantom Menace,
Yep, yep.
and in the beginning of that movie, not in the beginning, somewhere in the movie, Batman is like doing martial arts, but it's more like yeah, ha, ha, kind of looks like karate.
Yeah.
But this woman pulls up to him and she's like, "What are you doing in your pajamas, Bruce?" Which is very funny and relatable as someone who wears a gi all day.
Yep.
Um, and he's like, oh, I'm practicing jujitsu. And she's like, Gesundheit. And he's like, no, jujitsu. And she's like, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's where you use your opponent's weight against them. And I was like, cool. So if that man does jujitsu, I need to start learning what that is.
Yep.
And I went on Yahoo back in the day, which is the major search engine back then, not Google.
Yep.
And I just went through. I was just looking for jujitsu. I didn't even know how to spell it, and I went through maybe like probably 20 or 30 O's before I finally could find at least, because all the pages I would click on, I clicked every single link, and it was always buy my VHS tape, death touch, blah blah blah, all these kind of McDojo kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better back then. I was a child,
Sure.
um, and I'm all the way in Saudi Arabia, so and international or global shipping was not a thing back then. So there is no way in hell my dad is going to pay for a $30 VHS tape to be lost in the mail. And so I didn't even ask him because I already knew. And I, so I just kept on trying to find at least, like a trailer of
Yeah.
like just like a demonstration of what they're doing. And I just kept clicking, clicking, clicking. And I finally found one,
Yeah.
and they were showing like five or six techniques, and I was like, and back then there was no copy link like highlight and copy. So what I did was I took a piece of paper and I wrote down the entire link on that piece of paper, taped it on the desk where the PC was because there was only one PC in the whole house.
Hmm.
And then I was just like every day I would go back to that link and I would watch that video for hours, and then I would try to practice it with my friends in school, and then I would watch again when I felt like if something was off, and I would keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And that changed my self defense perspective because I got bullied a lot in school. So I started karate at 5 because I got bullied. Um, and then I watched this movie. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but basically, it's one of those inspirational boxer movies. And the dad was training his son, who was also getting bullied. And I started doing the same training regimen that he was doing. And my parents saw it, and they were like, my brother was already doing karate, and he's way older than me. And they were like, "Hey, do you want to do karate?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I went in and I started doing that. And then I saw the jujitsu thing. But the problem with karate was it was fine against people my size,
Yeah.
punching and kicking. But then when I started getting really good at karate, then the older kids started wanting to beat me up because they're like, oh, that's the karate kid who's like beating up all the kids in his class, so you got to beat him up. So I'm like, now I'm fighting people like I'm in the second grade or the third grade, and the sixth grader wants to beat me up, and I'm punching and kicking, and it's just not working.
Yeah.
Or I hit him, and it takes way longer for me to hurt him than for him to hurt me. So I realized that this was not good, and I naturally fell into what we call the clinch, which is just closing the distance. Like you see in boxing, they clinch, or in jiu-jitsu, we do clinching, or wrestling, or judo. So I naturally was falling into clinching to close the distance, and then I would, headlock them, take them to the ground, and then I would ground and pound from there. And then I just realized that just clicked for me that grappling was just way better, but I didn't have any technique. So when I found this jujitsu video and I started to learn those techniques, and they were super effective, and I learned. And here's the funny thing: I only realized I was watching Horion Gracie and Hoist Gracie 3 years ago, 2 years ago,
Really.
when yeah. So it was the earliest combatives videos, Gracie combatives videos,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize I'm an instructor and I know Gracie combatives by heart. Like I've studied this material, I teach it all day, every day. I never realized because I never saw the old videos, but I've watched that trailer so many times, like
Yeah.
not even 100 times, like 1,000 times, 10,000 times. I used to spend all day watching that. I didn't even watch cartoons anymore until I like mastered those techniques based on what I was seeing, because there was no instruction; it was just a silent demo.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and buy her VHS tape. And I was just like, yeah, cool. I like this, but I can't. I'm not gonna be able to buy it. So anyways, fast forward, I got really good, and then so I'm gonna jump ahead. So I learned this when I was in 9 or 10, but fast forward, I'm an instructor. I'm learning all the curriculum, and then suddenly I was like, you know what? Gracie Combatives 2.0 comes out, so the newer modern version that we teach today.
Yep.
Um, and I was like, oh, so there's more than one variation. I wonder if there's an old variation I can watch. And I asked around, and they were like, oh, yeah, Horion and Hoist used to have the old combatives before the original one, the one that came out in 2008 and was released in the internet. So I YouTubed it, and I found it. And you know what happened when I watched it? I watched the whole thing. It's like 3 hours or something like that. I watched the whole thing, and what, at some point when they were showing Pizon, which is the sidekick to the knee, a flashback like in my memory just hit like a very deep core memory of like, oh wait, these are the same guys I was watching way back in the day. I never realized until that day, and I was like, this is crazy. So I've been doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu since I was 9, and I just never knew it.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my whole strategy. So basically, what they used to do in the challenge fights, which is pizone, clinch, leg hook takedown, take them to the ground. I'm on the mount, on top, throw a few strikes. Person gives me his back, rear naked choke, end of the fight. And I just did that over and over again. It wasn't even funny. So now these sixth graders were like, "What's this guy doing? It's like
Yeah.
magic. He just takes us out." And then I would have it got to the point where other older kids were watching me fight their friend first, so they would see what I was doing, so that they could try to defeat it, but it was still unbeatable. And I was only using like 5 techniques, and that's crazy to me thinking about it now.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously I didn't know back then that I was doing jujitsu or what jujitsu was, or and I did know like okay jujitsu Batman, but I was just like I ended up I finally, at the age of 14, learning. Like you said, I'm very well spoken. It's deliberate because I was really bad at articulating myself and talking when I was a kid, and I didn't know how to explain stuff, and I was always getting in trouble because I would get bullied, but I would hurt the bullies,
Mm.
and then I would get in trouble. Because I didn't understand what appropriate what an appropriate response was. And
Yeah.
did, even if I did, it's very hard to manage the damage when you're like striking someone in the face.
Yeah.
One wrong move, he turns. I'm trying to hit him in the cheek. He turns. I hit him in the nose, and it's broken. So it's
Yeah.
very difficult to gauge that. So I kind of stopped martial arts at the age of like 14 because I learned how to talk now, and I was just de-escalate, and I learned that 99% of fights you can avoid.
Yep.
And that was just basically I stopped martial arts for the longest time. So right when I started traveling, and it was all peace and love and talking and de-escalating and mostly not avoiding fights. And that was working for me fine, um, up until I got a very serious like hip injury. I was when I went to DC my first year there, my freshman year. I was doing parkour around the city, and I was doing trying to do a trick, and then I landed wrong, and I
Mm.
dislocated my leg from my hip. And after I got everything was sorted out, I started feeling like I was physically weak, and I had some physical issues, limitations. Couldn't walk properly, couldn't run, couldn't exercise anymore. So then I started to, even with the physical therapy, it wasn't doing it for me. I still felt like my body felt very unstable. And then I was just like, well, what was the thing that helped me? Because I was trying to remember, like, what's something I could do that really will strengthen my body. And I remembered karate. Karate gave me a very solid foundation physically. So I was like, let me go back to doing that. I think that will help. So I went back to doing karate at like 19. And I was a brown belt at the time. So I was like, oh, I might as well go back and, study to get my black belt. And I was just like, okay, cool. And I started doing that again with my original instructor who was teaching me at 5. He was still teaching at the time. So I started training with him again, um, remotely. He gave me the black belt curriculum because I was in DC at the time. So I
Yeah.
was training there, just going to random gyms, that MMA gyms, and and random like places would have open areas or gyms
Yeah.
where they were doing yoga and stuff, and I just trained there.
So Malik, you
After
said
that,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, so you
tell
said
me,
something real quick. I think I just don't want to lose this thought, but you said how
tell me.
when you did karate, and again, I can definitely resonate with that because I also started karate at 6'2", and I saw the benefits of it, just like you did.
Mm,
Our paths are a little bit different because I had an instructor, from the
mm,
start, but where you were kind of in a sense kind of mimicking what you would see. And I think that's kind of because you can look at that one or two ways, like, okay, cool, like you have the ability to kind of mimic what you see, but you might not fully understand. But then you said something where you said, you were punching and kicking and you were hurting these people because they were maybe trying to hurt you or vice versa. But, it's, the truth is this, whether it's karate, boxing, striking, I don't know. We don't know how to hit someone just right. And where jujitsu comes in, it is scalable violence. And I think that's
yeah.
important for viewers to understand. Like, karate is a martial art. It's an efficient martial art. I'm a diehard
Mm,
karate fan and I always will
yeah.
be. It was just a great compliment to jujitsu where now I learned, we've learned that we don't have to punch, we don't have to kick. We can use efficiency, scalable violence to take someone down without ever throwing a punch. And that's the message that as instructors we convey, to the
Mm.
best of our ability to our students. So because you learned that early on and realized like, yeah, like I don't want to be the guy that's always, like it's like I want to punch you, but I don't want to hurt you. But again, it's like I don't know. It's like I don't know how to punch you just right. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, bro, it's not possible. Uh, I trained like old school karate, so like until today, like last time I checked, I was 22, and I went to my old dojo, and the wall is like right, like when we're in the horse riding stance, and what we used to do is they used to line us up in front of this white wall, and we're all in our horse riding stance where we're kind of like squatting. For those viewers that don't understand what that means,
Yeah.
we're squatting, and I'm in this like holding position, and I'm throwing punches at the wall as hard as I can without breaking my fist. And if you try to pull your punches, the instructor would hit you with a stick. So,
That was the old
and
school way. Yep.
yeah, and until today, last time I checked when I was 22, that wall, right where the eye line of those fists, it's red. There's like red stains from all the bloody fists that used to be on that wall. So there's no right way of hitting. So even when you're trying to not hurt yourself,
You can
it's
hurt the other.
not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so imagine just trying to calculate how you're not hurting someone else who's moving, and that wall wasn't moving. So
Yeah.
people are saying, we say this all, when people like hit bags and they're super skilled, and people always on the internet like to be,
Yeah.
uh, that keyboard warriors, and they're like, the bag doesn't hit back. And I'm like, yeah, cool, but when you hit a wall, the wall doesn't hit back either, but you still can't, the wall still can hurt you, same like the bag can hurt you. But what you're stimulating is that you don't hurt yourself. So it's very difficult not to hurt yourself when you're throwing a punch while simultaneously not hurting the other person because they're moving, you're moving, and there's a lot of things that could happen in between. And the bag is kind of a smooth surface, and so is a wall. But a human face is has like dents and curves, so your fist could just literally turn wrong, and you could
Mm.
twist your wrist, you could break a bone. I've broken my hand like an un like numerous times. Like I can't even remember. Maybe like 5 or 6 times. I've
Yeah.
broken my different parts of my hand just by throwing bare knuckle fists. And for those of you who don't know, the reason why professional fighters wear gloves isn't so they don't hurt their opponent. It's so they don't hurt their hands.
Yeah.
That's that's people have that misconception, like, oh, we're wearing
Yeah.
gloves, you're not gonna hurt me. No, no, no. It's it hurts the same.
It's still
It's
gonna
just
hurt.
that my hand won't break.
Yeah.
That's why if you see like bare knuckle XT, which is this
Yep.
new
Yep.
fight, they throw punches way less
Yeah, for sure.
because they're afraid of breaking the hands.
Of
And
course.
that's what it used to be back in the day when there was no gloves. Like if you look at the early UFCs, the punches weren't flying the same way they're flying today.
Yeah. Yeah. You
But
know what
yeah,
I've also noticed?
scalable violence. I'm sorry, I'm going back to that point because
No,
it's
you're good.
super important. You said it, and and I think we need to reiterate that. scalable violence is super important
Oh yeah.
because here's the thing. It no longer becomes violence if you can scale it. Because that scalable violence could end up being just control.
Yep. 100%.
And if it's only control, then it's not violence anymore.
Mm, yeah. And
I'm
that's
basically hugging that person. I'm giving him a loving hug, telling him, "Hey, bro, we're good.
yeah.
We need to chill out."
Yep. And I know as jiu-jitsu instructors, which I want to get to next, kind of your pathway to Gracie University, but I know for
Yeah.
us when we're teaching a very specific curriculum like the Gracie Bulletproof,
Mm.
which for anyone watching is hands down one of the best kids program in my opinion, and I'm sure you would agree, for sure.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how you just said like we're hugging, but for kids to understand that, especially at such a young age, it's like
Mm.
I didn't get that formal training. Like, yeah, like I was taught how to punch, block, kick, make distance, but there was no just hold them there till help comes, right? There was no
Yeah.
negotiation. So it's
Mm-hmm.
the skill set that we have now, man, that we can really
Mm.
pass on. So let's talk about Grace University. So I know you run a
Cool. Tell me.
yeah, so I know you run a very beautiful certified training center. So before we kind of jump into your location and what you have to
Mm.
offer, tell the viewers when did you, because I know you watched the early VHS,
Yeah.
with Hoist and Horian, which I think
Yeah.
I think that's great that you didn't realize that was dumb until years later. But tell us,
Yeah.
when did you first find out about Gracie University, and like what's your relationship with Henry Hedon, and basically
Mm.
like start from the beginning on like what's your
So let's
GU
talk
path?
about how I got into jujitsu because that relates to the story I told
Sure,
about my hip and
absolutely.
karate.
Yep.
So I ended up doing physical therapy for that for a very long time. We're talking a span of like 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it took about 3 and 4 years to regain full function um, through that. So I traveled from DC when that injury happened to the UK to continue my studies. And then when I was there, I was training at a local gym, a martial arts gym. Um, and one of the classes they were doing there is jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
BJJ, regular Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I saw, while I was training karate, I saw this tiny girl at half my size, no more than 120 kilos, taking out this, sorry, 120 pounds,
Yep.
uh, taking out, and she's a blue belt. She was sparring with a white belt who was like 3 stripes. He's a blue belt, 4 stripes, which is basically the difference between white and blue is one belt level, but like the stripes is like basically she's been training for probably I want to say 3 to 4 years, and the white belt's been training for 1 to 2 years
Yeah.
because he's a 4 stripe white belt. Just for those of you that don't understand the belt ranking system, so 2 years of training as opposed to 4 or 5 years of training. But she's like less than half his size. The dude was a giant. We're talking he's like 6'2", 6'3". He's like I'm no less than 200 pounds. No
Mm.
less.
Interesting.
And he is destroying him, bro. It looked like he was drowning on dry land. Just he's just reaching out, and she's like a snake behind his back, turning, grabbing the gi, choking him out with it, arm barring him. Just she capped him like 7 times in 2 minutes.
Mm.
And because that's when I started watching her. The round was already going, and I
Hmm.
was just like watching the entire. I wanted to see what they were doing because they started standing, and then they grabbed each other, and then they're on the ground. And I was like, "What is this? I've never seen this before. This is weird." Because I know judo, you throw people, so I was like, because that's what I thought it was. I thought they were doing judo because they had like kind of judo gis on. And I was just like, okay, cool. What is this? And I saw this girl, this just destroy this dude, and I was just like, oh wow, what? I wonder what these guys. What is this called?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know how to fight standing. I don't know what they're doing on the ground. And if a girl could do that to him, she could definitely destroy me. So I want to
Yeah.
learn what she's doing. So I look
Yep.
around. I'm looking for the black belt. Found him in the corner, and I go to him, and I was like, "Excuse me, sorry to bother you. What are you guys doing here?" He's like, "Oh, this is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu." I was like, "Oh, cool. When's the next class?" And he's like, "Oh, tomorrow morning." And I was like, "Done. I'm here." And it's just, I've been training ever since.
Yeah.
So
And guys, for those
here's the thing.
watching, so
Yes, tell me.
yeah, so you no, no, so your story. will definitely click with a lot of viewers if they watch the early UFC with Hoist, who he talked
Yeah,
about. And that's what the world was probably thinking when they saw this little, Brazilian wearing, white pajamas like you talked about earlier, and
yeah,
how it really captivated the world in that sense from a larger scale. But for you, Malik,
yeah.
when you're watching, this young female, it's like, man, it's pretty powerful, It's awesome what
Wow.
Jiu-Jitsu can do. But go ahead, bro. Continue.
Bro, that was yeah, it was crazy. Like powerful is an understatement. It blew my mind what this girl was doing to this guy. And he wasn't an older guy. He was probably in his late 20s, early 30s, and she's
Wow.
also at the same age range. So they're in the same age range, and he was destroying him. I've never seen a grown man that size panic so much. It looked like he was going through an ordeal. And I was just like, dude, I need to do this. And here's the thing, like most people that do jujitsu, the gym I was at was a very competitive gym. A lot of world champions, a lot of European champions. It was very competitive, very sportive. So it was very rough. But I was determined, and I was like, because I saw what I saw, I was like, I'm gonna learn something here, so I need to stick with it. Um, and I did find a certified training center from Gracie University at the same time, because I was just researching what different schools there were in the area. But it was like an hour away from where I lived, and I had to walk 20 minutes and take the train 20 minutes and then walk another 20 minutes just to get to that certified training center. I was just like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm not doing this because this place that I was training at was 15 minutes away from where I live,
Yeah.
walking distance.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not doing that. I'll train here. So I stuck with that school for a very long time until I felt like, honestly, I don't like bad mouthing the school because the people there were super friendly after, when you get to know them and
Yeah.
you stick with it. The
Yeah.
instructor was super professional, um, high level instruction. Techniques were awesome. Loved the jiu-jitsu he was doing, but it just felt like a little bit like people were out to get me, like out to hurt me. Not all the time, but there were like certain people there, and it was just like it was getting to the point where I had to like try to hurt them so they don't hurt me, and it
Mm.
just became this kind of like now every time I go to training, I gotta turn it on, and I'm not trying to fight for real for fun when I'm trying to do something for fun and I'm learning,
Yeah.
especially as a beginner. Like it just wasn't. It got to a point where it wasn't. It got to a point where it started to make me feel like I was fighting for real, like back when I was a kid. And it
Mm.
was bringing back a lot of unwanted emotional memories and a lot of unwanted, trauma. I don't like using that word, but it just made me feel the same way I felt back then when I was fighting for my life,
Sure.
and it was just like it brought out a violent version of me that I don't enjoy and I don't like and I don't want to be that person ever
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
it was just an environment that just fostered that to come out of me.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. It was okay when I did that to the people that were trying to hurt me, but that when that person comes out, it starts becoming where I did that to all of my training partners, and then I started to hurt people that weren't, trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
So I became the bad training partner now,
Mm.
and that just kind of didn't sit right with me. And then one day I was training with a brown belt there, super good dude, awesome jiu-jitsu. Ended up being the European champion several times, and he had me in a De La Hiva guard, which is a sportive jiu-jitsu guard, which basically is using his legs and the gi, the uniform, the jacket, to entangle me so that I can't get out. And I really couldn't move. I got stuck. But what I noticed is I had a free hand and I could punch him in the face. So I was like, now obviously in jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, sportive jiu-jitsu, there's no striking for those of you that don't know. But I was thinking as a self-defense guy or like someone who's used martial arts in real life to
Mm.
defend myself, I was like, oh, I wonder what Paul or what this dude would do. Sorry, one second. So I wonder sorry about that. Um, um, one second. Can we pause?
Yeah. So you're talking about how you were training at this gym for a while and you're kind of, you know,
So yeah, sorry.
all good.
Sorry, now I got my train of thought back. So yeah, I asked this dude about. I'm gonna just try to not say names. So I asked him, "What would you do if I punched you right now?" So he freaked out. He's like, "Don't punch me, Malek." And I was like, "Bro, I'm not gonna punch you. I understand. I'm just asking, as someone who's been training for 10 years and a brown belt, who's like, I think he was like 2 or 3 stripes at the time. So I was like, "What would you do if someone did punch you?" He's like, "I don't know," and that broke my heart.
Yeah.
As
It's
someone who was
unfortunate.
training for a year or a year and a half at the time, and I was like, if this dude doesn't know what to do after 10 years, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
My whole point was I wanted to learn how to fight and
Yeah.
how to defend myself, and I want this to be usable just in case because I actually lived violence for a very long time
Yeah.
growing up. So this is very ingrained in me. So then I was like, you know what? I remember I saw this self-defense jujitsu thing a while back. Let me try to find that school again.
Yep.
So I went and I went self-defense jujitsu. Found a few schools, but I found the one that I was looking for, and it said Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, same side.
Mm. Yeah.
And then I went to that school. I went on the website, was looking at it, and they were like Gracie University Certified Training Center. And I was like, I wonder what that is. And they had a link to the website. So I clicked on it and I was reading the material and they were like, oh, Grace University, blah, 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 self defense, most effective, 36 techniques. They were marketing the Gracie Combatives program, which is the fundamentals course that we teach. 36 most effective, most common jiu-jitsu techniques that happen in a real fight. And I was like, cool. And then I was scrolling, going through the website, and I saw become a certified instructor.
Mm.
Open your own school. I was like, oh, I've always wanted to open a martial arts school my whole life. That was like a dream for me. I was like, but you probably need to be a black belt, have like 15 years of experience. Da, da, da. And, a voice in my head just said, I wonder what the requirements are.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't fit the bills, Malik, but, let's just check it out anyway.
Yeah,
And I
because
go
that's
on
the
the web. Yeah.
misconception real quick is this. And just two things I want to add to that. So you're mentioning
Yeah.
about how you were starting jujitsu and you're training, with the original club that you were in, and then you realize like, man, like what do you do if you get punched? And it's interesting how because my instructor Howard Steele and I, like we'll have these like, similar conversations where most people, from the outside looking in, they'll watch like a UFC fight, or maybe they'll watch the old school like, VHS or even the Hoist Gracie
Mm.
fight. And then they're like, all right, cool. Things I want to learn self-defense. But the problem is they'll go to another, let's say, jiu-jitsu gym, club, whatever you want to call it. And again, not to bash, but the sad reality is they might not be getting the product that they ultimately wanted. Because I love
Mm.
when people say, oh, well, like an arm lock's an arm lock, Americana's Americana. Yes, I will agree to that. However, what's the mindset? What's the indicator?
Mm.
Why are we applying it? So
Mm.
not all jiu-jitsu schools are one and the same, and the reason why I mention
Mm.
that is because you're about to talk about Grace University, and it's just interesting how people feel like it's all one and the same, but bro, it's not. I mean, yes, jiu-jitsu is
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, but how we teach it, how we frame
Yeah.
it is equally as
Yeah.
important.
But I also wanna, I don't wanna, I wanna make it very clear that if you do train just regular BJJ, sportive BJJ, eventually you will get to the level where you understand that striking is important and you will start to incorporate that lens into your training. The
Hopefully though.
question really,
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully,
Yeah,
not
because
always, but I'm saying,
yeah,
not always, but I'm saying someone who trains regular BJJ is going to be way better off than someone that doesn't or just trains striking martial arts. Because
100%.
listen, I live this 100%, and
Mhm.
people will bash me. I don't care. Grappling martial arts are better than striking martial arts. You can say whatever you want. It is what it is.
Yep.
This is the truth. I don't care what you say. I've lived this as a small person. I'm not big. I'm like 5'7", 5'8". I don't even know. And I'm like 70. I'm like 80 kilos, which is like 160 pounds or 65. I'm not that big. I'm like an average sized dude. Um, and there is no way I'm gonna strike with someone who's 6'5", 6'2", 6'1", who's 240 pounds. It doesn't matter how good at striking I am.
It's
His
stupid.
punch just have just
Yep.
way more weight and momentum behind it. The mass difference between me and them is just not fair. It doesn't matter how I might be more efficient, my strikes might hurt him more, but just if he throws his arm at me and it hits me, that's just the blunt force of that is just going to be way stronger than whatever I can create with my fist. And you
It's
might
like
then talk
changing.
about Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris and all these famous like I don't want martial artists who are kind of also movie stars or kind of media stars, and they've kind of glamorized this like I'm small but I can throw a punch and I can break bricks.
Hmm.
That's all good, but it doesn't translate to real life. I've lived real violence, and I'm telling you right now, this is not real.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It does. It works, but you have to be super good. The level of training and skill that you have to have in comparison to someone who knows jujitsu is very different. So, like, I would say 1 or 2 years of jujitsu training or wrestling or judo is equivalent to 6, 7 years of just striking training
Yeah.
in terms of how effective you are against someone who's bigger, stronger, and more athletic than you.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about same size.
Yeah.
That's not the conversation.
Mhm.
We're talking about someone who has a clear physical and attribute advantage towards you.
Yeah.
But back to my point, I don't like bashing jujitsu gyms or like supportive jujitsu
Sure.
because they're doing great. It's awesome, but their focus is different. So
Absolutely.
we're all because they might bash us because they're like your jujitsu sucks. When you fight jujitsu versus jujitsu, I'm gonna choke you out and my blue belts are better than your blue belts. And I say, yeah, I agree with you because I spent the first 2 years talking to them about punches. Now, if we incorporated punches into that same training session, your
Different.
guys would suck. Yeah, you
Absolutely.
guys would suck,
Yep.
and my guys would do better. But that's the conversation is we're going to start at very different paths, and you will reach a certain level faster in a certain area, but eventually they converge in terms of jujitsu skill level. Now, how good you are at sportive techniques will be depending on how much you focus on those
Yeah.
and how much you get better at, striking distance management, damage management. You'll get better at those if you focus on that.
Yeah, and also just to add on that for those watching, if you go to most jujitsu schools, here's what happens. You come in, you learn like, random technique that you might not even know anything about, and then you
Yeah,
drill that, and then it'd be like, all right, listen, Malik, I want you to go over there and I want you to spar with the black belt. Here's the goal. Just don't die. And that might, yep, and that mentality, that mindset
yeah,
might work for someone
yeah,
younger, but what
yeah,
Grace University and things, we'll talk about that here in a sec, but now
yeah.
when you come in and you said something that was pretty profound.
That's what happened to me when I started my first jiu-jitsu class. It was like we
Yeah.
learned one technique. I knew nothing else, and then they were like, "All right, cool, go spar with these guys."
And it's
And
crazy
I was like, "What
because
does that mean?" I was
yeah,
like, "What does that
because
mean?"
because most people aren't going to last in that type of environment. But then when you
No.
talked about how you spend 1 to 2 years with students learning self-defense against punches, staying punch protected, that
Mm,
scalability, while it is different and like, essentially, and as Howard always tells me, he says, Nick, if I can prolong someone's journey in the beginning, holding them off, from sparring,
yeah,
our
yeah,
likelihood of keeping them goes up
yeah,
because they already have the foundation. They're safe. It's a structured environment,
mm,
things that you already know about. But it is
yeah,
important to make mention both. It is jujitsu, but how
yeah.
it's approached and mentality, dude, it's crazy, man. So talk about
And I'll
like,
go back. I just want to go back to what Howard said. Keeping
yeah,
him longer. And today, because jiu-jitsu is so popular, people will come to me sometimes, and I'm sure Howard and you've seen this as well at your school. That that some people come in and they'll want to train and spar hard from the beginning.
yep,
But here's the thing: like I said, a lot of people don't understand violence because they haven't experienced it, and they don't know what they're asking for.
yeah,
And when they
yes,
experience it, they're like, "Oh, this is not what I signed up for. I don't like this," and they disappear.
yeah,
So just because, and this is for the listener, just because you want to train and you think you're a tough guy, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't experienced real violence in your life, and I'm not talking about, oh yeah, you went into a street fight, you hit someone once and they got knocked out, and now you're a street fighter. You're not a street fighter, bro. That's not a real fight. You got lucky. You threw a sucker punch, or you threw a punch and you landed it perfectly, and he got knocked out. That's not fighting. I'm sorry I'm bursting your bubble, but I want to be very clear. There's a very difference between that and what real violence is, and I live this, and I'm this is something I bring to my gym, and I talk about this regularly because I need people to understand that yes, we are training for fighting, and I make this very clear for my students. I'm like, what you're experiencing in your first days, when you're first learning the techniques as a one stripe white belt, two stripe white belt. If you get into a fight today, I'm telling you right now, the level of intensity, you will panic, you will not understand what's going on, and you will barely remember how to do these techniques. So I don't want you to focus on the details of the techniques. I want you to focus on what is the concept of me being safe? What do I need to do just to be safe? Remember that concept and forget the technique because you're not going to be able to escape. You're not going to be able to do anything. But what I 100% guarantee is that you'll be able to understand and know where can I not get punched and have my face broken. I'm going to get hurt. Let's just remove that misconception. You are going to get hurt in a fight, whether
Yeah.
it's a bump, a bruise, a scrape, or someone hitting you like with light, like doorknob, like knocking punches. But you will get hurt. But what I care about, and I tell them this: hey, I'm not teaching you how not to get hurt. This is not Kung Fu Panda. I'm not going to teach you the whooshy feeder hold. You're not going to skadoosh anybody and they disappear. And if for those viewers that have never seen that movie, you're missing out. Definitely need to watch that.
Check it out.
Um, yeah, and I always make that joke because it's really not like the movies, and I can't emphasize how important because media has skewed, and in all different aspects of our lives, social media and media has skewed and warped what we think reality is,
Oh my
and
goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's important for something like violence to be very clear as instructors, and I think anybody who teaches martial arts, you need to let your students know violence is not what you think it is, and you need to understand that you're delusional
Yeah.
if you think I'm not gonna get hurt in a fight or they're not gonna punch me or I'm gonna do wow wow or I'm gonna grab them and I'm not gonna get elbowed in the back of the head or from the side of the head or I'm not gonna get head butted by mistake. It happens during rolling when I'm training with people in the gym. Like an occasional headbutt happens sometimes. Someone's just turning their head, and they headbutt me in the nose, and I'm just like, oh, and he didn't even mean to do it. So
Yeah.
imagine it was someone who's actually trying to hurt me. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy that we need to understand that the reality is way different. And when we're training, you have to understand that as a beginner, you're not going to be a master. But what you need to learn is how not to die and
Yeah.
how not to have catastrophic injuries that are
Survive.
long lasting. So
Yeah.
don't get broken and don't die and don't bleed out. Those are my three things that I say. If I can make you, if in your first lesson you learn how to do those three things, we're off to a very good start. You're like 100% better than what you were a second ago.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about that in a sense now with Gracie University. So you've been training now.
Yeah,
So when did you find Gracie University? Sum that up. And
and
now let's talk about your certified training center because that's what I want the viewers to know,
yeah,
the
okay. So I
product that you
started
offer.
training. Yeah, so I started training with Grace University in 2018 when
Yep.
I first found the school, and I decided. And when I went on the website, I found out that you can be a certified training center and instructor. And like I said, I thought you had to be a black belt with 15 years of experience. But when I went on the website, it was like, oh, just finish the beginner program, test with this grade, and then
Yeah.
you have to like apply to be an instructor. And I was like that, and I was like, how, and I looked up how long it takes to finish. Excuse me, how long does it take to finish the beginner program? And it takes about 6 to 8 months, is what they said.
Yeah.
And I had 9 months left in the UK before I had to leave back to Saudi.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I didn't even call the certified training center. I just looked at their website, I found the schedule, and I just went. And
Mm,
I dropped in for a beginner class, and I went an hour early to
yeah.
talk to them and make sure that it was okay for me to join that class.
Yep.
And I popped in, and the certified, the head instructor was super confused, and he was a blue belt. He was super confused. He's like, "Can I book you for an intro?" No, I was like, "I'm just walking in." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." our class is like in an hour and a half, right? And I was like, yeah, 100%. I'm just here. I want to fill out the paperwork. I want to join this class today. If we're uniform, whatever, we're good. I just want to jump in. And he was like, okay. Uh, and he was like, and I was like, I want to be a certified instructor. I want to open a school back in my country. And and he gave me that look of like, oh, you're one of those guys, you know. And what was that? And he didn't say anything, but I
Yeah.
knew I did. And at the time, I didn't feel anything from him. And
Yeah.
now, as an instructor, I understand what that look meant.
Yeah.
And that look means, oh, you're a bright fire that's burning really quickly, and you're gonna die out very quickly.
And we see that a lot.
Yeah, we see that a lot. The people that come in with the most excitement and energy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna come in every day. I'm gonna train, and I'm gonna pass." Those are usually the guys that don't stick around very long.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
and
unfortunate, but
that's
yeah.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but he was like, "Oh yeah, okay, you're one of those guys." And he's like, "All right, cool. We have a 10-day free. Do you live in the area?" I was like, "Yeah, I live in Manchester." Blah blah blah. It's like an hour. He's like, "Oh, did you drive here?" I was like, "No, I walked and I took the train and then I walked again." And he looks at me. He's like, oh, okay. So he's like, it's already a hassle. I could see his gears turning. He's like, it's already a hassle for this dude to come here. He's not going to commit long term. This is
Mm,
not going to be something he can do
yeah.
regularly.
Interesting.
Um,
Mm,
because that's how most school owners think, and
yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, tell him whatever. He's not going to be able to do this regularly.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it is a hassle. Like part of gym going to a gym or go training is that it has to be convenient,
Sure.
so that you actually have to go regularly. And then so basically, I signed up. I did my 10-day free trial, and I was there every day, and I was training every day, and I started taking private classes with him. And then I told him, hey, listen, do you have any? I know you don't have any morning classes. I'm free in the mornings. Do you have morning classes? Because I'm trying to finish this combatives thing before I leave, and I want to test with a 95 or above. And he's like, yeah, I'll think about it. We'll see if a lot of people show interest. We'll make it happen. And so I was, and so this is like 2, 3 months in, 4 months. Sorry, this is 1 month in. Sorry, 1 month in. And then 2 months in, he's like, yeah, we're gonna open morning classes for you. Because I was like there every day, and I would actually be there. Sometimes I would show up before the CTC even opens
Hmm.
by like an hour because of train times.
Hmm.
So I would be there before him, and he would see me every day, and he's like, oh, okay. And I would show up earlier, like from the beginning of when they opened, because I wanted to see the kids' classes and I wanted
Hmm.
to see the advanced class, and I would stick around after because I wanted to see how the whole school is run and how the programs are being taught because I was planning on opening a school. I was like really studying what they were doing. And, he saw my commitment and he's like, oh, this dude is for real.
Yeah.
Because he asked me one day, he's like, what are you doing here early? Or why are you staying so late? He's like, oh, I'm watching the kids' class. So when I open my school, I know what you guys are doing. I'm just getting a feel. And he's like, oh, okay. And, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fifth day, a month in, 2 months in. And 2 months in, I'm already a four-stripe white belt. And mind you, I already had 2 years of jiu-jitsu experience before. So learning these techniques was super easy for me.
Hmm.
Um, and then I tested. I spent a whole month just practicing how to test because that's part of when you want to be an instructor. This test is super like difficult and very detail oriented because obviously I need to own these techniques because I'm gonna eventually be teaching them.
Yeah.
Passed with the grade, and then I ended up going to Master Cycle, which is the advanced class where you go jujitsu versus jujitsu. Still a lot of striking. We're still talking striking regularly, daily, if not daily. Um, and then I applied to GU to become an instructor, and I just went through the instructor certification program, which was like a 3, 4 month process of like background checks and watching the instructor course online. And I'm back in Saudi Arabia doing this, and
Hmm.
I enlisted my cousin, who still trains with me, and basically I was practicing all the things I was learning on him. So I
Yeah.
was teaching him the Gracie Combatives program the same way I was learning to teach, and basically I started taking in students at that time, one or two only, just trying at a very discounted price. Like I think I was charging $30 for for everyday private classes for a month.
Yeah.
Um, so like
Mhm.
very cheap, like minimal, just like minimal fee, just so that at least they get used to paying me. Um, and then I tested, passed, and back in the day when I was getting certified, there was no online certification, so I had to fly out to California to get certified in person in 2019.
That was pre-COVID,
Uh,
man.
yeah, pre-COVID,
Way
pre-COVID.
back. Way back.
Way back. Yeah. So I got certified, met Hito, met Henner, met the other black belts, met the instructors. And the one thing that, I took from that, one of the cool things is we talk about, how to be a successful instructor, how to be a successful school. And I think one of the, and every time we have the ICP, instructor certification program, that 2 day, twice a year, conference, um, the black belts all stand up and they give their 2 cents about like how to run the school and how to be a good instructor. And I don't remember who it was. He always said, "Hey guys, don't be shy. Connect with one, if not all of us, and
Yeah.
get our feedback. Especially that we're running these schools for such a long time. Connect with us. We're more than happy to help you guys answer your questions. Like, feel free. Don't be shy."
Yeah.
And I feel like not a lot of people in our organization, and I feel like not a lot of people in any school that takes advantage of the people that are more advanced than them. I feel like they're shy, or they feel like they don't deserve it, or they don't want to waste that person's time.
Sure.
But I took full advantage. Like I talked to so many of the black belts, like Robbie Singh, Jason, um, uh, Sung in South Korea, some of the guys in the U.S. I know I talked to Howard and some other people like now I'm blanking out. I talk to Hito and Hannah a lot. I send them emails, message them on Instagram.
Hmm.
Talk to Jackson Fortunal, who's in
Yep.
Houston.
Yep.
Um, talk to who else? Now I'm blanking. Uh,
Just instructors, man. Just awesome
in
people.
Louisville, talk to a few guys there.
Alan. Alan
Alan,
Manganelli.
thank you. Alan Mangala, shout out in Louisville. Just talk to like I'm no less than 20 instructors about what are some do's and don'ts. How did they start off their school? Like this is even before I opened. I just wanted to get some feedback. Like how did you guys start? What
Yeah.
did you guys do that was very good? And one of the things that I really like about our network is everybody's super friendly.
Oh yeah.
I've never felt like anybody is like, "Ah, you're wasting my time, bro." No, they were like taking time out and giving me like very valuable like owner instructor tips and tricks that really helped launch me in the right direction from the get go. But then COVID hit and life changed.
Changed the whole world.
And yeah, life changed. We ended up, and that was like right when I already found a location and I was already setting it up. So I already had a contract and I already had employees. So
Mm.
whatever money I had saved up to, have a cushion disappeared for
Yeah.
paying rent, paying salaries, and I obviously had to live, but there was no money coming in.
Yeah.
And people like to bash Grace University, but I want to tell you one thing: if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have survived because they took no fees from us
Yeah.
during this time. So I want to be very clear that anytime, and this is just in general, and I've heard many stories that when people have difficult times, school owners, they're more than happy to like work with them on helping them survive
Yeah.
to the best of their abilities with tips, tricks, or just hey, we waive your fees. Let's for a few months. Let's see how this works out. And they've done that with me and many different schools. So I
Yeah.
want to just give a shout out to how the organization is run and the brotherhood and the camaraderie and the sisterhood, because we do have sisters. Everybody's super helpful. And honestly, without the community and without Hito and Henry's leadership and all the other black belts that have helped me out, I probably would not be where I am today.
Yeah.
And I run a relatively successful school. I don't want to say successful, I say relative.
Hmm.
Um, just because I don't know what success is. Honestly, I feel like I'm doing okay. But I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah,
I'm not reaching the audience that I want to reach, but I run a very good school. We have a very good and booming bully-proof program. So our kids program is on fire
that's
because
awesome.
I feel like adults are more willing to invest in their kids than they are willing to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And also, I live in a very safe country with a very low crime rate
Mhm.
and very low violence. So the idea of, oh yeah, I need to learn jujitsu to defend myself against a random attacker, that doesn't happen here. You can walk around at 3 in the morning as a woman, man, child, and no one's gonna bother you at all. Like I've left my car running a long time ago, and someone turned off my car, and I left my keys in the car. Someone turned off my car, left me a little note. Hey, you idiot! You left your car running. Your battery is gonna die, and he just left it in my like cup holder. And I go in, and I'm like, why is my car unlocked? And I was like, oh no, I forgot my keys. And then I see a little note on top of my keys, and I look at it, and I read it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this guy. And thank God he didn't steal my car. But then I told my friends about it. It's like, yeah, no one's gonna steal your car. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not saying there isn't like incidences, but
Sure.
like generally speaking, it's very safe. So the idea of an adult wanting to learn self-defense is not a big thing.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I do want to say we all enter jujitsu for self-defense,
Yeah, I
but that's
agree.
not why we stick in jujitsu.
It's community. It's for the,
It is community,
yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
lifestyle. It's a chance for us to practice on a regular basis the human being that we want to be in our lives.
Yeah,
Now, let me elaborate a little bit because people get confused when I say that. They're like, "What do you mean?"
sure.
If I'm getting attacked by someone and they're trying to submit me or they're trying to, dominate me physically, and I learn not to panic. And when I feel like I'm in danger, I'm very calm and collected, and
Mm,
I'm more likely to strategize and think outside the box and think of solutions rather than focusing on the problem. And I do that on a regular weekly basis. What am I training my brain to do when stuff like that happens to me in life? Like when life gets hard, my job's not great, maybe I'm having problems at home, maybe my kids are having a difficult time.
yeah,
Just things are going wrong financially, socially, with my friends, family, whatever. And you're having those, problems. We tend to, when our emotions are high, to act not as our best selves.
yeah, I agree.
But if you regularly train to practice as your to when bad things happen, you are your best self. What is that going to do for you off the mats, in your regular life? You're going to do that in your regular life. You're going to be your best self when things go wrong. So I tell people, hey, you're here for the community, you're here for self defense, but really what you're really here for is to train yourself to be your best self all the time, even when things go wrong. And I feel like that has resonated with a lot of people, and I've started to get more adults in the building. But it's still, I've only started this new, I've only kind of came to this realization this last few years, and things are slow, but we're growing, and Master Cycle is booming. Weird enough, it's just the beginner program is just like a
Yeah,
little bit. So the people that train want to do like the self defense stuff, and the people that graduated from me are sticking to Master Cycle because they love it already. So
yeah,
getting new people in the building, they're like, I don't need self defense. And this mentality, I'm too old for this. I'm too
mm,
whatever for this. I'm
yeah,
too weak. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too short. I'm too tall. And I'm like, hey, we love you the way you are. You don't get fit to train jujitsu. You train jujitsu to get fit. And it's a slow progress, and people don't understand how gradual things can be.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, Malik, I love your insight we just shared about why people train jujitsu initially and why they stay. And the common theme that I hear a lot from other certified instructors, just to kind of go back to you giving shout outs and just kind of paying praise and gratitude is just that. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but as instructors, we can uphold the promise that when you're here, this is what we're going to give you. And you mentioned something about how sometimes seasons were slow, and I hear that a lot. Everyone always wants to talk about their successes and all the things they've done, but I think it takes maturity and someone with real life experience like yourself to just say, yeah, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. And you said it best. Jiu-jitsu teaches us to kind of stay calm within the storm because man, that's tough. It's easy to be happy when things are going good, but can you still keep that same mentality when things are not? So before we close out and exit out, I want to kind of just hear what's a typical day in the life for you as an instructor. So I know you talked about life
Okay.
just as a whole in Saudi Arabia. And you mentioned some things that are brand new to me. And one of the reasons why I love this platform, going back to the beginning, is I always get to learn one or two things new about life and just the individual that I brought on. And man, just in the short amount of time, like I've learned some pretty cool, insightful things from you. So I want to thank you. So
Thank
before
you.
absolutely. So before we do close out, I want well, tell the viewers where they can find you guys as far as
Okay.
social media, sorry. But before you do
Yeah.
that, talk about a typical day at your school in your life
Okay.
because you said you also teach jujitsu private lessons all the time. So you're traveling,
Yeah.
like you're an innovator, man. Like, man, you're crushing it. So what's a
Thank
typical
you.
day like, for jujitsu sense for you?
So yeah, thankfully, I am doing pretty well as an instructor. I'm fully booked all day, every day.
That's
I
awesome.
start training. I start training at 9 a.m. I have private classes until 1 p.m. So I just basically sometimes I go to people's houses and I train.
Mhm.
High net worth individuals or people who are like CEOs or high level lawyers or people that just don't have the time to to just come to training at night because they spend all their day at work or they have different businesses or they're running different things. So they need stuff to be accommodating for them. So I go to their houses and then teach them there. And then I have other private class students that come to me at my certified training center, and I teach them there during off hours. Or if there's a group class, we do have a private room so that I teach there. That's very important. If you're a school owner, I highly recommend having a private room.
Oh yeah, we do.
If you can, if you can afford the space,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously not everybody can.
Mm.
But definitely, I do that and until 1 p.m. And then I drive back. So I live like 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away from my CTC, which is quite a drive. So I basically, drive back and forth like 3, 4 times a day, and I have to come back see my family, hang out with my baby daughter, my wife, and uh, because family is very important. Like we said in the beginning, you that's what people want. So I try to spend as much and be present as much as I can. And then I spend like maybe an hour, 2 hours with them, and then I go back to the certified training center. We have group classes for kids starting at 4:30. Do the age groups, beginner classes depending on the age group, and the advanced classes depending on the age group for kids.
Hmm.
Then at 6:30 we start the adult classes, beginner or advanced depending on the day. It's different days. We like to switch it up because I don't want to make everybody do a certain time because that time might not work for everybody. So when I give people time to different opportunities to train,
Yeah.
and then we close out at 9 p.m. and then I stick around and I do admin work until like
Mm.
10 or 11 p.m. and then I go home most days. And yeah, and that's it. I do have another assistant instructor that helps out sometimes, but
Yeah.
they're not full time; they're part time, so they help out at certain times. We are still, I am still trying to certify new people, but that is a process.
Sure.
And because I don't, it's very important for me. That we maintain the level of quality that I've set for people. They expect it now. So
Hmm.
I don't want to certify anybody,
Yep.
um,
Yep. I respect
because
that. Yep.
we always say anybody can learn jujitsu, but not everybody can teach jujitsu, and that's very important for people to understand. It takes quite a level of dedication and commitment and responsibility and a certain kind of mindset and personality to be able to like teach this stuff. And not everybody's cut out for it, and I would say like most people aren't,
Yeah, I agree.
unfortunately. And they
Yeah.
might be great jiu-jitsu practitioners, they just can't teach.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And that's basically my day. Sometimes I get to leave early if I have an event or stuff like that because I am somewhat of a public figure and my wife is a public figure, so we have to go to events. I have to go to events with her sometimes, and I am part of different other groups. I have different other hobbies, so I sometimes try to leave early to like you know satisfy those other stuff or other commitments. And then I try to like not do anything on the weekends, spend time with my family, see my parents, my siblings, hang out with my nieces and nephews, and then at least and take the family out once a week. Maybe date night with the wife, so we reignite that spark. So it's basically a lot of juggling, and some days I'm like 100% work if the work needs to be there, and sometimes I kind of slack off on work so that I can be more family, and then sometimes I slack on both so I can be with my friends a little bit. And it's just, and sometimes I'm just like, I need my time, and I just like push everybody away. And I'm just like, listen, I need a break. I need to sleep today. I've been like burnt out. I haven't been sleeping. Like this last July, we had a major, I had a major issue at work where we, had some financial problems, and I had to like 100% be at work, and I wasn't sleeping, and I would be like working at all hours a day, like leaving work at 4 in the morning, and I had to, wake up at 8 in the morning to do my private classes. There's no excuses, so my wife, God bless her, took over, did her thing, helped me out, and again, it's a support system,
Yeah.
and I highly encourage if you're in your life try to find people that support you, and because you can't do it on your own, and I 100% cannot do it on my own. So many of people have supported me, whether it's from the organization Gracie University, Heal and Her themselves, other CTC owners, or people in my community. The students 100% are the ones who support me. They made this dream and this thing happen. People have supported me throughout COVID when we closed down. They were still paying their memberships. I was giving them Zoom lessons,
Mm.
doing solo jujitsu, just working on technique and movement. If you remember those days,
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, it was a wild time, very different.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I want to end with is don't try to go at it all by yourself. There's no such thing as starting from zero. I know you guys hear these success stories all the time. Like I started from nothing and now I'm here. They're liars. They're,
Yeah.
they're, they're 100% liars. Nobody starts from nothing. You get support from people. Even your clients support you.
Yep.
You didn't do it on your own. People supported you. People believed in you. And yes, you made things happen, but you needed the support to make it happen, and you need to have the humility to keep going forward and to understand that yeah, you need a support group, and whether that's your clients, your family, your friends, whatever it is, and even if people don't support you, keep going, and eventually someone will. Like my
I love
first supporters were random people, random clients, and then people started coming in when the success came,
Yeah.
and that was it opened my eyes. But I kind of wanted to feel a little. I wanted to feel some type of way about it. I
Yeah.
wanted to feel some type of way about it. But then I kind of stepped back and I was like, why am I personalizing this? They waited until it was a proven product and I had a very good reputation, and then they showed up.
Yeah.
And as a consumer, wouldn't you, tell me, Nick, as a consumer of random products
Mm.
throughout your life, would you go to something that's not proven, that doesn't have a good reputation?
Of course not.
Would you buy? Yeah, you wouldn't buy into that.
Of course
Nobody
not.
would. So
Yeah.
don't take things personally.
And Malik,
Is
just to
what I
add
want.
on to that real quick. So something that
Yeah,
I've learned, recently just with this podcast, and you said it best yourself, and I'm glad that you shed light on it. I've had people that, I guess more online, but people that don't even know me say, man,
yeah.
like I think this is a great platform. And I didn't do this for the notion to get recognition from my family or friends. I did this because this is something that I've been wanting to do. I just kind of put it on the back burner for a while. And I
Mm,
said, no, like I had this opportunity to give a platform for individuals like yourself. So my mindset was always for the people, but it's
mm,
interesting how even your family and friends, people that you think are going to be like, "Oh, that's a great idea, like do it." But people will do what people like them are doing. And when you know someone personally,
Mm.
It's like I can get behind you now because I know you, but I also wanted to see if this was a real thing where a stranger or consumer you don't even know, they believe in the product and there's
Mm.
something that's gravitating towards them. So it's interesting how it happens kind of not the way that we want initially, but ultimately, if you're doing it for the right reasons, I feel that the right people, the right consumers are going to be there. So,
100%. 100%.
so
100%.
where can people find you online?
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and basically you can find me personally at malekbatterjee.com, at Malek Batterjee on all platforms. Or you can find our school, which is GJJ, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's the abbreviation.
Yep.
Az-Zahra, which is Azzahraa. And basically you're going to find first certified training center in Saudi Arabia, and you'll see my face, so you'll know you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
And yeah, feel free to ask me questions, even if you're not in. If you're in the area, feel free to drop in, come train with us. If you have jiu-jitsu questions, life questions, feel free to pop in a message. I'm always happy to help when I have time. It is what it is. Don't feel like there's a barrier, because there isn't one. The only barrier is in your mind. And yeah, bro, that's it.
Yeah. Malik, thanks again so much for your time. I feel like this conversation was awesome and man, it went by
Thank
so
you, bro.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. And for those watching, definitely check him out, his CTC. And if you ever get a chance to go to Saudi Arabia, now that he kind of gave us a good synopsis of what it's like, you can also visit
yeah.
there, train with Malik, and also enjoy some of the hot sun, like you said. So very cool. But yeah, man, thanks so much for your time, and I hope you
Thank
enjoy
you.
the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you for having me on, bro.